I've been a fan of the Pokemon games since I was 6 years old. My favorite thing to do till this day is still fantasize what my life would look like if I was a part of the Pokemon world. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And in this question, I will be doing my own take on the Wants to Journey 2021 challenge started by Crasher Plays and Reacts back in 2021. And a couple days ago, I saw the YouTuber Redbug5 do his own take on the challenge this year in 2025. So I wanted to do my own take because he really inspired me to do it. And at the time when the challenge first started, I was not a content creator. So I want to do my own take on the challenge and answer the question, what would your life look like if you were in the Pokemon anime? Thank you, Crasher Plays and Reacts, for coming up with the challenge. And thank you, Redbug, for giving me the inspiration to do my own version of it. Before we get started, we should lay down a few ground rules that have been set for the challenge. Rule number 1 is I'm only allowed one starter. The starter Pokemon are basically any Pokemon that you get at the start of the game from the professor. Rule number 2 is pseudo-legendary Pokemon. These would be Pokemon like Dragonite, Metagross, Haxorus, basically any late game Pokemon that has the stats that rival legendaries. Speaking of legendaries, number 3 is no legendary or mythical Pokemon. So no Mewtwo, no Darkrai, no Mew, no Jirachi, no Deoxys, no Pokemon like that. And last rule is I am allowed 4 Pokemon to switch in and out with the rotation. So let's hop into the video and I will explain more on how to complete the challenge as we go. The first question is, what region would you hail from? The region that I would come from is Kitakami. I honestly love Kitakami. From the lore, to the music, to the terrain, to the festival that you get to take part in. I honestly really do enjoy the story of Kitakami and what happens there, and I really feel like that could be my home within the Pokemon world. I was born there, as one does, and was a little kid one night when this strange mochi incident happened. Everybody around me had ate the mochi, and due to me not liking mochi, I actually wound up not eating it, which got me chased out of the village because everybody was trying to force feed me the mochi. I wound up running all the way to Wisteria Pond, where I had befriended a bunch of wild Pokemon due to me liking to go out and explore and not much to do within the land of Kitakami. So I spent a lot of my time within the Kitakami wilds exploring and learning about Pokemon. One of the Pokemon that I actually encountered while I was out there was an Aipom. This Aipom I befriended a long time ago, and it wound up protecting me and defending me with all these people chasing me. After we defeated the people, we ended up going back to the village where we saw the mythical Pokemon Pecharunt being defeated by a trainer and his Pikachu, who was also battling alongside Ogerpon. This trainer was the Pokemon professor / trainer Freed. Freed had come to Kitakami to honestly get a better understanding of terrestrialization and the Crystal Pool. Within the Crystal Pool and terrestrialization, Freed also wanted to learn about Ogerpon and how its Terra Masks affect how Ogerpon reacts to different moves in terrestrialization in general. As a kid, I was astonished seeing Freed for the first time and actually getting a chance to watch a real Pokemon trainer battle. And then afterwards, I talked to Freed and learned that he was a professor. That really shocked me. And that's actually where we move into the next question. The second question that is asked is, what would be your profession within the Pokemon world? And I would also like to tie in the third question. What would your goals be in the Pokemon world? My first profession that I would start off with is a Pokemon trainer, but the end goal would be a professor who studies Pokemon lore. This is due to me learning the stories of Ogerpon as a child, but once the Pecharunt incident happened, I found out that the stories of Ogerpon are lies. That would shock me to my core, and I would want to snuff out all the myths and truths about the stories that you hear from each region, about all of their mythicals and all of their legendary Pokemon. But while studying, I would want to get stronger while I travel the world, because Freed really showed that you could be super strong and be a professor at the same time. This is when I would think of the World Coronation series, because not long before the Ogerpon incident and Petra incident happened, the Masters 8 would have happened and I would have watched Ash versus Leon. I would have been around the age of 7 at this time, so I couldn't travel on my own. But me and Apom would never stop training and always be preparing for this. Once my 10th birthday came, I would start my Pokemon journey officially, where I would meet new Pokemon and climb the ranks. Eventually, I would enter the top 8, where I would lose to Ash in the finals, with him having 3 Pokemon remaining. I would be sad, but I would also be grateful for the adventure that I had and be excited to battle Ash again and move into my next step into becoming a Pokemon professor. The next question that is asked is, what would be your team of 6 and what are 3 Pokemon that you would rotate in? Apom is my favorite Pokemon of all time. This is purely because of Ash's and Dawn's within the anime. I loved his personality and joyful spirit, and I imagine my Apom is the same exact way, mirroring Ash's silly Apom and its joyful personality. It would also differ in some ways because it would be more of a big brother to my team and other Pokemon that it encounters along my journey. I met Apom when I was a young kid, even younger than I was within the Mochi incident, around 4 or 5. I would spend much of my time within the Kitakami Wilds exploring and meeting wild Pokemon, and one day I was within the wilds and I had packed a lunch. I sat down to eat my lunch and an Apom ran past and stole my food. I traced the Apom all the way down and found it was taking care of some sick Pokemon. I tried to help, but not trusting humans, Apom was guarding it with its life. After some shenanigans and proving to Apom that I loved Pokemon and that I would take care of Pokemon no matter what, it would trust me and we would become best buds instantly. Once I grew old enough to train, me and Apom would travel and explore the world. It would evolve in the top 700 within the Pokemon World Coronation series within a tournament in Johto, learning double hit to knock out a powerful opponent. Number 2 is Talonflame. Fletchling would be the first Pokemon that I ever caught on my Pokemon journey. My first stop would be the Kalos region to learn more about Zygarde and Xerneas and Yveltal. Talonflame is honestly my go-to regional bird. I pretty much catch one in a playthrough after a while of me replaying a game over and over again. I love its design and it's based on one of my favorite birds, a falcon. This fletchling in particular would have flew into my Apom's face while we were walking through the forest, and they would end up fighting, eventually giving me a chance to throw a Pokeball. Apom and Fletchling are honestly like an iconic brother-sister duo. They both fight all the time, playing pranks on one another, but also when it comes to battling, they take care of each other and are the best combo in the world. Fletchling first evolves around the time I'm rank 6,000 within the World Coronation series, and Fletchinder evolves at Stark Mountain, trying to defend a Heatran from poachers. The third Pokemon that I have is Sceptile. This I would obtain while traveling throughout the Hoenn region and investigating the rings that Hoopa have left around within the Hoenn and Kalos region. I would get a challenge by a trainer in Little Root Town, and we would fight in front of Professor Birch's lab. This is where a small Trico would be watching from the window. Trico is my go-to starter in Hoenn and is one of my favorite Pokemon within the anime. This Trico is opposite from the one that you see in the anime. It's very shy and loves the idea of battling, but actually ends up getting stage fright to the point where it won't move at all. We worked through that and developed an unbreakable bond where Trico evolves into Grovyle while battling against the Pokemon trainer Max and his Grovyle, then evolves again when fighting a Sceptile a few months later when we have a rematch against Max's Sceptile. While in Hoenn, I obtain a Megastone and a Keystone when researching the Weather Trio after researching Hoopa and taking a trip to Sky Pillar in Granite Cave. The fourth Pokemon that I would pick is Alolan Ninetales. See, this Ninetales I met as a Vulpix at the Aether Paradise while I was studying Gladion Savali. I would want to know how Savali relates to the Pokemon Arceus. But while I'm there, I would grow fond of this Vulpix as well. Me and Vulpix would basically be attached at the hip while I was at the Aether Paradise. And the day that it was time for me to leave, it would climb into my luggage without me knowing. While going through Pokemon Customs, they would wonder why they pick up a Alolan Vulpix in my luggage. And I told them, I don't know, it just got there somehow. They would obviously not believe me at first, but we would call the Aether Paradise and get everything sorted out. They would tell me to keep Vulpix because it grows it's very fond of me as a trainer, and that I should not let it battle for a while, at least a week, because it was going to be released within a week, but they just wanted to make sure that it was going to be okay. Once that happened, we would travel around for a while and then eventually end up in the Unova region. While in Unova, we would be studying Kyurem and Zekrom and Reshiram, and we would end up inside the Great Chasm, where Vulpix would find an ice stone and evolve into a beautiful Alolan Ninetales. The fifth Pokemon that I would obtain is Poliwrath. Poliwrath is a Pokemon that I have a deep history with in real life. I've always loved Poliwrath and Politoed and their entire line. I also broke a DS over Chuck's Poliwrath when I was younger. So me and Poliwrath kind of owe one another. This Poliwrath in particular, though, would start as a Poliwag. I would be on my way to investigate Moltres, and it would battle me outside of Victory Road. This Poliwrath would not accept its defeat lightly, and would follow me around the region the rest of the time I'm there, challenging me to a battle about 2 or 3 more times. I would battle Poliwrath as a Poliwag one more time, where it would evolve into Poliwhirl right before I left Kanto to head to my next region. I would then catch Poliwhirl after it asked to join my team, and I would then evolve Poliwhirl into Poliwrath later on when I was receiving special training from Chuck in CM Wood City. The sixth Pokemon that I would obtain is Electivire. See, I've always loved Electivire. I really enjoyed watching Paul's Electivire in the anime and seeing how it grew and evolved into a strong Electivire and battled with Ashes and Fernape. But my Electivire would be pretty much the exact opposite of Paul's to start. See, I got Electivire as an Elekid from an egg that I won after progressing into the Ultra class after competing in a tournament in Goldenrod City. I would have to baby my Elekid because it was a baby. It hatched from the egg and it would need to be held, it would need to be bottle fed and treated so gently and delicately. It would evolve into Electabuzz after its first official PWC battle and evolve into Electivire after training with Gym Leader Paul's Electivire in Veilstone City, because who would be better to train up an Electivire than somebody who has the best Electivire in the world? My 3 rotating team members that I would have would be Dragapult, that I found as a Dreepy in Galar while studying the legendary heroes, then a Milotic that I found in Unova on the same trip that Alolan Ninetales evolved, but this time I would be studying the legendary genies. And then lastly would be Blood Moon Ursaluna, which I found while camping out and training for the Masters 8 finals a few months before the Masters 8 finals actually commenced. The next question in the challenge would be, who would be your rivals and who would be your companions? If I had to limit myself to anime characters only, I would pick Bonnie, who should be old enough by the time I get old enough to also travel and have her own journey as well. And then the next would be Gary. Gary would be much older and act as more of a mentor to my journey, who I would kind of run into every now and again, and he would give me advice on different legendaries and where to find them, after, of course, participating in Project Mew. If I could pick anything other than anime characters, I would only change one, and that would be probably replacing Gary with my old college roommate Coop, who was like my best friend and my brother. My rivals would be Ash, because obviously I have to try to beat him eventually. And then it would be Max, because he was always super snarky in the anime, and I feel like he would make a really good, like, anime antagonist rival. And then if I didn't have to pick anime characters, I would pick my friend Joe, who is like my real life rival. Like, we go blow for blow in Pokemon battles all the time, and our record with one another is so close that I can't even count it. Then I would also probably pick Roy, because Roy seems like he's really developing as a character, and I imagine that I would run into him during my first journey and while he's in Kalos getting his Mega Lucario, which would also kind of inspire me to go to Hoenn and learn more about Mega Evolution and how it correlates with Zygarde and Xerneas and Yveltal. And then lastly would be Freed, because he is my mentor, and I would honestly want to eventually learn how to get stronger and battle him. And there you have it. That's my submission for the Monster Journey Challenge 2021 in 2025. I really have fun with this challenge, and there's one more thing that I'm supposed to do at the end. I'm supposed to challenge 5 other creators to submit their own versions of this challenge, but I don't know many other Pokemon creators. So I would like to challenge everyone watching this video to leave a comment of who their Pokemon would be and what would be their profession or job or goal in the Pokemon world. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments below. And of course, turn on those bell notifications. And you guys have a blessed one and be safe.